Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Rich. All right, let's do this. So, today, what I thought I would attempt to do, I've not done any practice going into this, is to draw like heroic males. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but I figure if we're getting into superheroes and comic book characters, we should definitely have like a decent idea of how to do like a male archetype and then a female one. So, this one will work on kind of like structure for like handsome male heads, and then the next one I'll work on females. So let's see. I'm using blue pencil just to set this up so that I get like decent. I tend to do so much extraneous lines on my stuff. Kind of. I'm trying to minimalize that. I'm not sure if this shows up. I think it does. I'll go in darker in a second. I'm just trying to get like the basic structure. But yeah, I tend to like. I have so many scribbly lines on my drawings that I find it actually difficult at times to sift through everything and find the good lines. So it's something that I'm going to work on over the next. Wow, it is hot outside. It's funny. I can see heat. You can't see the light beneath, like it's 2 inches lower than what the camera's shooting, but yeah, like there's like heat waves like going off the paper. Okay, so like I said, I'm just roughing in some like structure. Okay, so overall, just a generic, like nice shaped male head is this, and I'll kind of show you the understructure of it in a second. It's already crooked right here. I can see that I've drifted. I'm kind of trying to peek underneath the camera. It's sitting like right in front of my eyes, so I sort of have to duck and like look under. But like I said, it's so funny because I'm so neat with my inks, and my pencils can get so scratchy. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's challenging for me. So anyway, like if this is your sphere, what you're going to want to do is have fairly solid lines that come like this, and a bit of a square and I'll take a darker like a marker or something, kind of show you. But anyway, so you got your circle. Okay. 1/3, 1/3. So, and there's so many variations that you can do on this. I'll try to give you some examples of front views that are like different structure. And then, I mean, essentially what you want to do is like if you're going to divide a head, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So your eye sits about here, and I kind of find personally, for at least American style comics, if you make the eyes too big, they look a little weird to me. But there's definitely artists that do it and get away with it. Because my table is at an angle, it was getting a little bit of distortion. But you can see the side of the head is a little off, like it's. But it's because of the angle that I'm looking at the piece. Also, because the camera length, the holder thing that it's sitting on is short. I have to sit way to the side of my desk. There's all sorts of funny little things to get these videos set up. I wanted to thank everyone of my Patreon supporters up front here. I really appreciate your support, and again, these videos wouldn't be happening without you. I can assure you that, because I'm really starting to get busy for Comic-Con, and I kind of didn't want to do a video today, but I'm doing it anyway. So, and again, I would end the mouth right about in the middle of the eye. But, I mean, that's a decent structure for sort of like a heroic head. Okay, but I have a friend who is really into like Capcom and a lot of the more extreme stuff. I don't really know exactly what he does, but I'm just gonna try something really fast. Let me do the blue pencil real quick. I think he really pops this out, and then I think the jaw too. Like it's kind of more. We'll try to compare and contrast what and then I think that the tops of their heads actually kind of get smaller. And he does like give him like a littler nose. Yeah, that's kind of it. I'm not saying it's like killer, but you'll see in a second what I'm talking about. But you've seen these types of faces in comics before for sure, and it can work. It's pretty distorted. I'll try and find my regular pencil. So this is all the decision making that kind of goes into you creating your style and look of things. Is how far do you want to push and pull the features? You know, are your guys going to have little tiny noses that you almost never draw, more than just a suggestion of a nose? Or again, I would there's proportionally things that I think make things look better. So like the mouth, the ends of the mouth, it's a good idea to have an end kind of right in the middle of the eye. It definitely, I think that there's a symmetry that feels comfortable and looks pretty tough and badass. And again, I mean, I'll even show you variations of this in a second. So, but really using kind of the same idea, which is just the sphere. Maybe give this guy like little ears. And these videos have been great practice for me. If you're not practicing this stuff on your own, you know, I'd highly encourage you to do it, because good stuff will come from it. And again, kind of a smaller top of the cranium. We won't worry about hair yet. Hair's kind of its own, like, its own series of videos, or at least a video or two, but so you've got kind of regular sort of handsome dude, kind of more stylized handsome dude. One thing you can also do to check the structure of how your favorite artists draw heads is if you work in Photoshop or Manga Studio, or even traditionally, you can grab a piece of paper or maybe make a photocopy of a page and just outline the basic shapes of like a head that you see someone that you admire draw, and try to like come up with like the simplest version of it, where you go like, okay, so the size of the circle that he makes is like this, he or she, and then the jaw goes out like this, and then this is like this. And just seeing it out of context without any of the detail can be really helpful. And maybe it's got little tiny ears. You know, maybe this is like a super hulked out type character, but it's still going to be handsome. So those same kind of rules are going to apply to this, where it's like, you know, you should have about one eye space between the eyes. I'm pulling it out a little further. I kind of like that look a bit more, a little more space between the eyes. It's a delicate balance, though. You have to be careful. Give him a little tiny nose. And if you have questions along the way, like you watch this and you go, you didn't really ever explain this or that, let me know, because you have to understand, I'm trying to show stuff for I guess, all degrees. I'm going to give him a kind of a bigger lower lip this time. You can kind of see as I'm massaging the eyes, I keep kind of I'm moving them more and more in. Usually the little details and stuff that I add on the characters are based on sort of the understructure of the skull and whatnot. So I mean, I'm kind of picturing the jawbone and stuff like that. But anyway, like there's this guy. I mean, and again, you can kind of maybe he's so big that his ears never grew as big as he did. You know, like he could be hopped up on some sort of sauce, radiation or something. So it's like I remember when I first started collecting comics, I was I'd buy a little bit of everything, but I would buy the Hulk, and at the time the Hulk was like real handsome looking, and it was kind of funny. Like, well, you know what? Right now though, he's got like kind of a little faux hawk and stuff, or at least the issue that I just saw did. It was kind of weird. But anyway, you know, if you're gonna put hair on him. Again, we won't worry about eye detail right now, but so normal head, slightly exaggerated head, sort of bigger head, but it's all kind of the same idea, you know. And then I'll try one more sort of handsome head, but a little less like that. I'll try to get something. And again, I tend to, when I set up a head, or for at least for a front view, I do a shape like this. And I'm actually going to start being a lot more critical of how I set up drawings, because I think that there's problematic ways of what I'm doing things that are messing me up along the way for maximum like sort of an indestructible approach, meaning an approach that always works for me. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you're going to be a professional artist, you need techniques that are completely reliable. And if it's not, and you're not getting a consistent result doing something, especially for sequential art, you've got a pretty big problem on your hands right out of the gate. So it's better to instill that in yourself early on, so that that's a foundation that you have, where again you've got an approach that works and is consistent and gets consistent results every time. Because if not, you're gonna have some pretty big problems on your hand. Because I mean, just the bottom line is, if you're drawing Spider-Man, or if you're drawing a Supergirl book, or whatever it is, Saga, you know, if you can't draw the characters consistently, I mean, you're kind of dead on arrival, you know. So it's one thing to be able to draw one nice drawing, but you want to have a level of consistency with that stuff. And it's, you know, and it, look, the guys and girls that do it well make it look so simple and easy. And you know, like two artists come to mind immediately, which is Olivier Coipel, his sequential work. Don't confuse that for just sketches and stuff he posts online. But like, if you look at like a real good, you know, comic series that he's done, it's very direct, and it looks very like, you know, it's really, really solid, but it's pretty consistent. And then Frank Cho is another guy where he's really got his main things down. Like if he's gonna draw Wolverine or whatever, it looks real consistent, and you know, his female characters are kind of the same way, and you can get like I remember years ago, you'd hear criticism of like, oh, they draw like all their guys look the same, all their girls look the same. I mean, that might be the case, but the reality is, as artists, we need that initially to have consistency, you know. So don't look at that as a bad thing. Just that's one phase of learning to draw. Things is get it consistent, where your stuff is looking tight and you go, oh, this is how I draw ear. It may not even be the right ear, but it's consistent. You know what I mean? Like anatomically, maybe it's not 100% accurate to an ear, but everyone's ear is different too, so you can always argue that. But so again, pretty. Let's try to make this go up a bit more. This guy looks a little feral, or like kind of like he's got like a little kind of cat eyes, or like his nose looks a little feline-ish. But anyway, I mean, he's still. Oh, and some people were commenting on the framed ink book, you know, because they don't use a lot of black in their work, or they're only drawing in pencil, that they don't feel that they can achieve those effects. Remember, it's the lesson behind the lesson is what you're trying to learn too. So don't, because someone doesn't draw like you, doesn't necessarily mean that. So anyway, that's, you know. You could turn this into Silver Surfer, or you could turn this into Mr. Miracle. You know, this could be a lot of characters. You could even be Batman. Again, his eyes, like, he's got a little bit of sort of a feline look to it, but it's weird. We'll play up his ears a little bit more. Meow. He's got little fangs. You know, some people have softer edges on their stuff. Some people are more angular with their stuff, and you know, look, as someone who's inked for a long time, it's always really challenging when someone goes like they just draw differently than you do, because at the end of the day, no matter how versatile you are as an inker, you have a certain calligraphy that you use. There's a certain way that you draw lines, and the way that you like if it was your signature, how you write your name, like you write your T a certain way. You could definitely learn to write the T in your name like 3 different ways or 5 different ways, but left to your own devices, you're probably, and imagine if you had to draw 20,000 T's in a day, but you're writing text, you're writing a bunch of letters, but there's a lot of T's in it. Your T's are probably going to drift towards what you most naturally do. To some extent, you can break the habit, but okay, so those are some decent variety of sort of heroic and handsome-esque male construction, just the proportions of the head. So again, if you watch the other videos that I've done, we've been kind of leaning towards this with Batman and Hellboy, but just showing. And again, you can play with all this stuff. You can make the heads longer, you could drop the mouth lower, you can make the jaw different, you know, but generally what you're trying to get is there's a real nice triangle shape that is happening right here and right here. There's a lot of different ways that you can look at it, but at the end of the day, there's a symmetry going on with the features that keeps it intact no matter how extreme everything is around it. Okay, so we're going to do side views in a second. I'm going to pause the camera, take a sip of coffee, and then we'll do some side views. All right, hold on. Okay, I'm back. All right, so yeah, side views. Kind of the same idea. We'll set it up with blue pencil, but we do our sphere. My pencil's getting dull. What I do with blue pencils too, I'll just show you, and I'll sharpen like a whole bunch at once, so I don't have to keep sharpening a pencil. So when they're dull, I'll just maybe set it to the side, grab a sharp one, and it just keeps you a little more effective. And you could also use a click. They have click ones. I found that sometimes the blue lead breaks too easily. It gets a little annoying with that. But anyway, so you've got your sphere, and you drop a line down like that. And again, this we're trying to do structurally heroic looking male heads, but within that, trying to show a bit of a variety of heads. So we'll try to do the most normal one first. So Let me grab my pencil. So, like, if this is the center line of the circle, and well, look, I'm trying to break my own habits. I was gonna say, like, you kind of can eyeball it, but I don't know. Maybe eyeballing it isn't the right thing. Maybe it should be a little more mechanical at first. I'm gonna have to kick my cat out of here. It's starting to be annoying. But yeah, again, maybe my loosey-goosey approach to sort of like, oh, I can rely on these other muscles that I have, which generally is like my natural ability. It only took me so far. That's the problem is, at face value, I could draw pretty good, just kind of winging it and bullshitting things. But ultimately, it led me down a path that I was like stuck. It's like I got 3/4 of the way up the mountain and was like, uh-oh, I don't know how to rappel down 3 feet to set my hooks up and grab onto this next thing. So it was an interesting set of challenges that I had to face. It would be really, really difficult. And I'm sure other people experience similar things, but yeah, it sucked. It's like, this stuff used to be easy. What happened? Because you're drawing at a professional level, and it's kind of like the you see like kids on YouTube that are like 13 that can just light up the piano or whatever it is. Like they literally are like virtuosos at whatever it is. But ultimately, what happens is that there's you all of a sudden now you're 22. You still draw well, but maybe you haven't faced the challenges that someone who actually had to learn everything from scratch. So sometimes, believe it or not having natural ability can depending on how you learn, can create an even better a better foundation for you, because you had to learn things the right way the first time. And I see it with people, like I'll see people on like YouTube and stuff like that doing like drawing demos, and they're not very good, but they're more solid than me. It's a weird thing, but like, if that makes sense, is like I probably could do finished drawings better than them, but they know how to set up their drawings way, way more consistently than I do. And I don't have a problem saying that, whereas I don't know if everybody would be so honest with even themselves on that, but it is what it is, They don't have the ability to finish drawings like I do, but if we were to, when I've seen it at comic book conventions too, there'll be people. There was a guy that I sat next to a couple of times at shows, and I was just tripping out on, like, he was just knocking out commissions left and right all day. They look great to me, but I see the stuff online, and I was more impressed by the consistency and the level of command that he had over his language up to a certain point. You know what I mean? But it's like the art isn't really setting the world on fire. So anyway, that's somewhat handsome profile. I don't really like that. So you can see how many lines I even have to put in to sort of like find my line, and it's I'm talking too, so it makes it a little tricky. But anyway, so there's the side view. Things that I would recommend initially is keep the eye somewhat small. We'll try one with a bigger eye in a second, and then the nose. There's a million different nose shapes. You've kind of, this is pretty straight up and down. I'm gonna try something on this next one. We'll see how it goes. I kind of got caught up in the conversation more than focusing on the drawing. So again, I don't fancy myself as much of an art teacher, but I think I can explain things okay. So what I'm gonna do this time is pull this out. I'm gonna make this line a little, oh well, you know what, that'll just turn the head though. We'll see. But yeah, I think I'm better at explaining than teaching, if that makes sense. Like, okay, so again, the eye will kind of fall right here. So I'm going to do a bigger eye, but I'll kind of show you what I mean. Like if you give it like a big honking eye, This is going to come back. We'll pull the jaw down a bit more, this one. So we'll kind of try to mimic this to some extent. I'm not even sure how they do it. I guess it would come back like that. But again, this is all good practice for me because think about it like this, okay? Like this may be not a head or character face that I would ever put in like a comic book of mine, but playing with these shapes is going to give me the backlog of knowledge to know what kind of works for it and what doesn't. So let's see, I'm gonna... Actually, it doesn't look that bad. I think there's still a level of... Again, remember, middle of the eye is a good, at least, target goal. So overall, he still looks attractive, I think. Again, and it's because of this. It's this nice distance here, and the proportionately that. So it creates that sort of hourglass kind of thing that, for whatever reason, just it creates a level of comfort to our sense of aesthetics, of what makes one girl's face look prettier than another, what makes a guy look like Brad Pitt versus, John, what's his name? John Lovitz. I don't know if you know the comedian, but you know what I mean? Like, it's all proportions. I mean, really, that's what it boils down to. It's like, if you looked at it, John Lovitz would have, his cheeks would drop lower, or his jaw would be lower, like it would be like this. He might have a weak chin, so it kind of goes in. Maybe his mouth is a little more shallow. His nose may be higher up. The eyes might be sunk down a little bit. Like, all those little variations will start to create a different sense of aesthetics. So proportionally, that's what you're looking for. If a character isn't looking cool, odds are you've created a distance that looks odd. Again, like from a front view, if your eyes are too far apart and your nose is too big. I mean, it's almost hard for me. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm so good at it, but it's almost hard for me to fake incorrect proportion, because I want it. And so even if I spread things out further, I'm still looking for that a symmetry. Like, I can just feel it. And it's like I was trying to think, okay, like, place it in a bad spot, and I kind of didn't. And even though this is farther away, it's still, I can feel. And look, that doesn't really go to the middle of the eye, but there's still a level of comfort to it. It may be difficult to see, but that doesn't look horrible to me, and it's still an exaggerated version of it, but there's some sort of balance that creates sort of a attractiveness to it. Okay, so anyway, that's a decent introduction into front views and side views. I mean, the most important thing is to play with this on your own, because you're not going to want to ultimately draw like I do anyway. So, if you're cartooning heads or whatever it is, You know, at the end of the day, you're really going to be kind of working this out on your own, to figure out what you like. But you know, a suggestion is take a artist that you like, either kick a piece into Photoshop and create another layer, and just pull out all the detail until you've got really just like a simple, you know, where it's just the outline of the head at whatever angle it is, and the eyes are like this, and you see the size relationships, and you could even kind of just do the nose like that, and you'd be really surprised at what the outline looks like. And then if you sat and were trying to draw your own rendition of it, how structurally different you may have approached it. You might go, God, I didn't even see that the chin on that was that big, but for whatever weird reason it works. And it'll be the size of the eyes, the smallness of the nose, whatever it is. But yeah, the balance and symmetry is so beautiful when it's done well, and can really be surprising. So, you know, grab a Jim Lee drawing, or a Lanil Yu, or an Olivier Coipel, you know, whoever you like, and check out their structure, because it'll be an eye-opener for sure. Okay, have a great day. Please smash the like, and I will see you guys on Thursday, and we'll kind of goof around with girls kind of in the same way, I think. And then we'll have established really the basics of drawing superhero heads. You know, and again, I generally tend to stress being able to turn your heads more, but this is a decent introduction into just the proportions. And if you watch 1 through 4, I show way more different angles. Okay? All right, talk to you later. Bye.